Got more taste than beer, more quality ingredients than premium beer.
Since 1860, Schmidt's has been making beer to the same high standards of perfection.
Oh, crisp Old Milwaukee beer.
Remember the beers that made the 1980 special? What happened to these iconic brews that once graced our shelves and parties? As we look back, nostalgia fills the air of beers that were once the life of the party. Join us as we explore the 20 forgotten beers from the 1980s we want back.
Into every can of this great beer go nature's choicest ingredients.
The Joseph Schlitz Brewing Company, based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, was once the largest beer producer in the United States. Their flagship beer, simply named Schlitz, became famous with the slogan, "When you're out of Schlitz, you're out of beer." Founded in 1849 by August Krug, the brewery was taken over by Joseph Schlitz in 1858. Schlitz expanded quickly, using the railway to distribute its beer nationwide. By 1902, Schlitz had become the largest brewery in the U.S. Schlitz was known for its innovations, such as the use of brown glass bottles, which started in 1912 and helped boost its popularity. However, changes in the brewing processes during the 1960s led to a decline in taste and quality. Sales dropped, and in 1976, Schlitz recalled over 10 million cans and bottles due to quality issues. The Milwaukee plant closed in 1982. Stroh Brewery Company acquired Schlitz in 1982, and Pabst Brewing Company eventually bought it in 1999. Schlitz Brewing Company, once a titan in American beer, faced a dramatic decline by the 1980s. What about another brewery that shared a similar rise and fall? Let's explore Schmidt's Brewing Company's vibrant history next.
You don't grow in this country like Schmidt has without feeling a certain responsibility. Making sure the great light taste of Schmidt never varies, never lets you down.
Schmidt's Brewing Company has a rich history. Founded in 1860 by Christian Schmidt in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, it grew to become the largest brewery in the city's history. By the late 1970s, Schmidt's was producing nearly 4 million barrels of beer each year, becoming a household name across the U.S. In the 50s and 60s, Schmidt's introduced new flavors, including a light beer to meet changing tastes. It remained one of the top-selling beers in America until the 1980s, when its popularity began to decline. By 1983, financial struggles led to Schmidt's being acquired by G. Heilman Brewing Company. Unfortunately, this change further impacted sales. In 1997, G. Heilman closed the brewery, ending Schmidt's production. Though no longer in production, Schmidt's legacy endures, reminding us of a time when it was a beloved beer across America.
And Old Milwaukee means a great beer. Cold, crisp Old Milwaukee beer. And smooth, golden Old Milwaukee Light.
Old Milwaukee, an American dry lager brand, has a rich history that began in the 1930s. The Joseph Schlitz Brewing Company originally brewed it as an affordable beer option. In 1982, the Stroh Brewery Company of Detroit acquired the Schlitz Brewing Company and the Old Milwaukee brand. Later in 2000, Pabst Brewing Company took over Stroh's and all its beer brands, including Old Milwaukee. Old Milwaukee experienced impressive sales over the years. By 1980, it had sold approximately 4.5 million barrels annually, making it one of the top-selling beer brands in the U.S. However, the brand faced challenges in the competitive beer market. Despite this, it continued to hold a strong presence until a significant shift in the beer industry led to the discontinuation of some of its variations. For instance, Old Milwaukee Non-Alcoholic was discontinued in 2015 due to declining sales and a shift in consumer preferences towards craft beers and other non-alcoholic beverage options. Today, the brand offers 3 types of brews: Old Milwaukee Lager, Old Milwaukee Light, and Old Milwaukee Non-Alcoholic. These beers have received recognition at major events such as the Great American Beer Festival and the World Beer Cup.
I'd hold you all night, any day of the year. The way that you taste, I love you, my beer.
Schlitz Malt Liquor, also known as Blue Bull, was a classic American malt liquor brewed by the Pabst Brewing Company. With an alcohol by volume of 5.9%, it found its place in the malt liquor market. The beer's most memorable feature was its distinctive logo, which some fans even had tattooed on themselves. During its peak, Schlitz malt liquor won the hearts of many beer enthusiasts. While exact sales figures are not known, it enjoyed a dedicated following, with sales peaking at approximately 1.5 million barrels annually during the late 1970s. Its taste was a delightful blend of Pabst Blue Ribbon and Colt 45, making it a popular choice for those seeking a balanced malt liquor experience. Sadly, Schlitz malt liquor was discontinued in 1992 due to declining sales and a shift in consumer preferences towards other alcoholic beverages. Schlitz malt liquor, with its iconic blue bull logo, garnered a dedicated following until its 1992 discontinuation. But what about Falstaff beer, once a giant in American brewing? Let's explore its rise and fall.
This is the one. Get pleasure, Falstaff time.
Falstaff beer was first introduced by the Lemp Brewery, which was the largest brewery in St. Louis before Prohibition. The Lemps named their beer Falstaff after Sir John Falstaff, known for his jolly and fun-loving personality. Falstaff beer quickly became one of the many popular brands offered by the brewery. By the 1960s, it had grown to be the third largest brewer in America, with plants all over the country. In 1965, Falstaff sold 7 million barrels of beer, highlighting its widespread popularity. Fans of the beer described it as medium gold in color, dry and effervescent, with a strong hop flavor and a long, slightly salty finish. Unfortunately, Falstaff beer faced challenges over time. Sales began to decline in the 70s due to increased competition and changing consumer preferences. In 2005, after a steady decline in sales and market share, its main label was discontinued, bringing an end to its long history.
Alex, 2 cold Strohs. Where do you see this?
The Stroh Brewery Company in Detroit, Michigan, made Stroh's beer. Bernhard Stroh, who came from Germany, started the brewery in 1850. They created a Bohemian-style Pilsner inspired by European traditions, which became famous after winning an award at the 1893 Columbian Exposition in Chicago. By the 1980s, Stroh's beer was very popular, with annual sales peaking at around 7 million barrels in 1982. However, the company started to decline around the year 2000, facing increased competition and financial difficulties. In 2000, they stopped making the original beer, leading to the discontinuation of the brand's production, and the company eventually closed. But in 2022, Stroh's beer made a comeback in Detroit with a limited reintroduction. Now, the Pabst Brewing Company owns and markets the Stroh's brand, keeping its legacy alive for beer enthusiasts to enjoy.
Popular? You bet. This is today's Ballantine beer. Crisp, clean, natural.
Ballantine Ale, created by the P. Ballantine & Sons Brewing Company, was established in 1840 in Newark, New Jersey, making it one of the oldest beer brands in the U.S. At its peak, this brewery ranked as the country's third largest. Despite the exact sales figures being unknown, Ballantine Ale garnered a loyal following. Notably, its Triple X Ale, known for its robust bitterness and aromatic hop profile, boasted alcohol levels of 3.80% by weight and 4.85% by volume. During the 40s and 50s, clever advertising strategies contributed significantly to its popularity. However, Prohibition forced the company to adapt, switching to producing malt syrup to survive. The end of Prohibition in 1933 marked a turning point when the Badenhausen brothers acquired Ballantine, leading to a period of renewed success. Unfortunately, the original brewery closed its doors in 1972, ending an era of brewing excellence. As we explore the rich history of Ballantine Ale, from its robust flavors to its survival through Prohibition, what tales await us in the story of Blatz beer? Let's uncover its journey next.
Blatz is still brewed the old world way for the same classic taste that shaped the destiny of Milwaukee.
Blatz beer, originally brewed by the Valentin Blatz Brewing Company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin from 1851 until 1959, saw significant success during its operational years. Founded by Valentin Blatz in 1850, the brewery rapidly expanded, merging with City Brewery in 1852 following Johann Braun's death. By 1868, Blantz's operations were producing 16,000 barrels of lager annually. During Prohibition from 1920 to 1933, Blanz adapted by shifting production to non-alcoholic drinks like malt soda and near beer. Upon receiving a permit in 1933, they resumed beer production. However, in 1959, plans to sell to Pabst Brewing Company were blocked by the federal government due to antitrust concerns, ultimately leading to the brewery's closure. The Blanz brand has since been revived under a different arrangement. Today, it's produced by the Miller Brewing Company of Milwaukee under contract for Pabst Brewing Company.
For the finest grains or pure artesian brewing water. But you'd taste the difference if we didn't. So we do. Olympia.
Olympia Beer, founded in 1896 by Leopold Frederick Schmidt in Tumwater, Washington near Olympia, began brewing its flagship production the same year. The slogan, "It's the water," was coined by Frank Kinney to promote this crisp lager. By the 1980s, Olympia had become a beloved brand in the Pacific Northwest and expanded nationally as a budget-friendly lager. It acquired brands like Hamm's and Lone Star and produced Buckhorn beer, previously by Lone Star Brewing Company. Despite regional success, the 80s brought financial challenges. Olympia faced flat revenues amid brewery consolidations. In 1983, the Schmidt family sold the company to G. Heilemann Brewing Company. Later in 1999, Pabst Brewing Company acquired Olympia. Over time, Olympia brewed other Northwest brands as original breweries closed, including Lucky Lager and Henry Weinhard's. It also absorbed Rainier Beer's Seattle Brewery. Sadly, the Tumwater facility closed in 2003, deemed unprofitable by S.A.B. Miller, who had acquired Miller Brewing Company.
Happy occasions call for quality national beer. Quality that demands the finest grains.
National Bohemian, affectionately known as Natty Bo, is an American lager deeply intertwined with Baltimore, Maryland. Originating in 1885 from the National Brewing Company, Natty Bo swiftly gained local acclaim as a crisp and beloved brew. Its famous slogan, "It's the water," encapsulates its essence. The beer's popularity soared, particularly in Baltimore, where nearly 90% of its sales of around 1.5 million barrels occurred. It became synonymous with Orioles games at Memorial Stadium, cementing its status as the city's unofficial beer in the late 1960s. Central to Natty Bo's identity is Mr. Bo, the iconic one-eyed figure with a handlebar mustache, which debuted in 1936 and symbolized both the beer and the spirit of Baltimore. Over the years, ownership of Natty Bo shifted, including a merger with Carling and subsequent changes in production locations. Eventually, the G. Heilemann Brewing Company took over, followed by the Pabst Brewing Company in 1999. Under Pabst stewardship, Natty Bo has remained faithful to its original recipe, rekindling its reputation as a classic mid-Atlantic brew. After years of exclusivity in bottles and cans, the return to the draft in local taverns in 2011 marked a nostalgic moment for those of Baltimore.
You don't need to be macho to enjoy Rainier Light.
Hey, Marlene, give me another beer.
Get it yourself, Bob!
Rainier Beer, originally brewed in Seattle starting from 1878, holds a significant place in American brewing history. Founded formally as the Rainier Brewing Company in 1884, it quickly became a cherished brand, especially across the Pacific Northwest. Known for its commitment to quality ingredients, Rainier Beer blended pure spring water, golden barley, and hops like Chinook, Mount Hood, and Willamette to create a distinctive flavor profile. This combination resulted in a malty taste with subtle fruity undertones, appealing to beer enthusiasts. During its peak, Rainier Beer enjoyed widespread popularity and substantial sales, with figures indicating it sold over 3 million barrels annually at its height. However, challenges arose in the 1980s due to changes in ownership and shifts in the beer market. These factors eventually led to its decline, culminating in the cessation of production at its Irwindale, California brewery in 1999. This marked the end of Rainier Beer's era as a brewed product. Rainier Beer, once a cornerstone of American brewing, saw its fortunes wane by 1999. What's next after Rainier's era? Pearl Beer, a Texan icon revived in 2020. Let's explore its journey from past glory to present resurgence.
Pearl.
Pearl beer brings 1100 springs.
Pearl Beer, a beloved Texan favorite, has a rich history. Founded in 1883 in downtown San Antonio, Texas, the Pearl Brewing Company's origins trace back to Germany. The brewmaster at Kaiser Beck Brewery crafted a beer noted for its foamy bubbles resembling pearls, hence its name, Pearl. This beer quickly became the brewery's flagship, celebrated for its crisp and refreshing taste. It became a staple across Texas, particularly enjoyed during baseball games at Memorial Stadium. However, Pearl Beer faced challenges over the years. In 1985, its parent company acquired Pabst Brewing Company and adopted its name. By 1999, production shifted to Miller Brewing on a contract basis, leading to the closure of the original Pearl Brewery in San Antonio in 2001. During its peak, Pearl Beer achieved significant sales figures, totaling over 2 million barrels annually. Despite this closure, Pearl Beer experienced a revival in 2020 when Pabst reintroduced it with a refreshed look and an updated flavor tailored to fit the modern Texas lifestyle.
30 cases of the national beer of Texas. He's a fiend.
Lone Star Beer, known as the National Beer of Texas, has a long history dating back to its founding in 1884. The brewery, located in San Antonio, was the first large-scale mechanized brewery in the state. Adolphus Busch, a notable figure from Anheuser-Busch, helped establish it alongside local businessmen. In the 70s, Lone Star Beer saw a significant surge in sales, becoming the preferred choice among the cosmic cowboys of country music. This boom was fueled by Jerry Retzloff, the former marketing manager, who leveraged his connections with Willie Nelson and Austin's vibrant music scene. The brand's iconic giant armadillo mascot became a symbol of Texas pride. By 1965, Lone Star Beer's annual sales surpassed 1 million barrels, marking Texas as a prominent beer producer. However, by the 80s, sales had decreased to approximately 750,000 barrels. Throughout its history, ownership of Lone Star Beer changed hands multiple times. In addition to its flagship brew, the company introduced variations like Lone Star Light, Lime Lager, and Brut Super Premium. The original San Antonio brewery ceased operations in 2001.
Winner for me.
New Schlitz Light. There's a new taste in Schlitz Light. The taste of natural ingredients brewed into a Pilsner beer.
Schlitz Light, introduced by the Joseph Schlitz Brewing Company in 1976 to compete with Miller Lite, aimed to capture the growing market for low-calorie beers. Despite initial anticipation, Schlitz Light struggled to achieve the success of its flagship beer, Schlitz. Sales figures for Schlitz Light were modest, with approximately 500,000 barrels sold during its brief lifespan in the late 70s and early 80s. Unfortunately, due to financial difficulties and changes in ownership, Schlitz Light was discontinued in the early 80s. The exact year of its discontinuation isn't widely documented, but it ceased production as the Joseph Schlitz Brewing Company faced decline. The brewery was eventually sold to the Stroh Brewery Company in 1982 and later to Pabst in 1999. Today, Schlitz Light remains a nostalgic memory for those who enjoyed its lighter take on the classic Schlitz taste, marking an era of experimentation and competition in the American beer market.
Pucker up your lips and blow wisdom merrily.
Jack's Beer, originally known as the Jackson Bohemian Brewery and later renamed the Jackson Brewing Company, operated as a regional brewery in New Orleans from 1890 to 1974. At its peak, Jack's was the largest brewery in the southern United States. During Prohibition, Jack's and Dixie were the only breweries in New Orleans to survive clandestinely. In 1954, Jack's Brewing Company secured exclusive rights to the Jack's trademark, becoming the South's largest brewery and ranking 10th in the U.S. sales figures during its peak years, which indicated significant regional success, with annual sales reaching approximately 1.5 million barrels by the 50s. Financial difficulties led to Jack's Brewing Company being acquired by Pearl Brewing Company in 1974. Production of Jack's beer continued until 1984 under Pearl. Subsequently, Pabst Brewing Company took over, and rebranded the beer due to declining sales amidst growing competition from national breweries and changing consumer preferences towards lighter beers. Thus, Jack's Beer ceased production in 1984 after a decline in popularity, marking the end of an era for one of the South's iconic regional breweries.
It's a good drinking beer. That's how I describe Peel's. It's a good drinking beer.
Peel's Beer, also known as Peel Brothers Beer and Peel's Beer, was a lager beer brewed in the East New York section of Brooklyn, New York City. Established in 1883 by the Peel brothers, Gottfried, Michael, and Wilhelm, the brewery quickly gained recognition. Michael Peel, a skilled brewer from Germany, brought his expertise to the business, crafting a German-style beer that stood out in the American brewing scene of the late 19th century. The brewery's use of soft water from Long Island, favored by German brewers for its quality, further enhanced the beer's appeal. By 1888, the partnership between Gottfried, who managed finances, and Michael, who oversaw brewing and engineering, propelled Peel's Beer to success. The brewery was incorporated in 1898, solidifying its place and reputation in the national beer market. Despite their dedication, operating from early morning until late at night, the brewery faced challenges as consumer taste evolved and market conditions changed. Peel's Beer saw robust sales throughout its existence, with peak annual sales reaching approximately 1.5 million barrels during its heyday in the mid-20th century. In 1973, facing financial difficulties exacerbated by declining sales and increasing operational cost, the Peel Brothers Brewery discontinued production of Peel's Beer. As Peel's Beer's legacy faded with the end of an era in 1973, one about Carling Black Label's journey to global acclaim. Let's explore its rise and eventual U.S. discontinuation in 2011.
Black Label beer is the premium brew at the popular price. Enjoy the best, take our advice.
Carling Black Label, originating from the Carling Brewing Company in the 1870s, underwent a significant rebranding under J. Innes Carling in 1927, renaming its black and white lager to Black Label. In 1930, Toronto businessman E.P. Taylor acquired Carling, integrating it into Canadian Breweries Limited, then the world's largest brewing company. Black Label became CBL's flagship brand, achieving global recognition. The beer's popularity soared in Commonwealth countries like the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. In South Africa, where it boasts a robust 5.5% alcohol content, it remains the best-selling beer. In the UK, it gained favor with a slightly lower alcohol content of 4%. Carling Black Label's exact sales figures are substantial, reflecting its global success. The beer was discontinued in the U.S. in 2011 due to declining sales amid changing consumer preferences towards crafts and microbrews.
Smooth Genesee Cream Ale. It's not the same old brewski.
Genesee Cream Ale, brewed by the Genesee Brewing Company in Rochester, New York, is an original American beer. Introduced in 1960, it aimed to blend the smoothness of a lager with the crispness of an ale, a goal it successfully achieved. Since its inception, Genesee Cream Ale has been a popular choice year-round, available at selected retailers. What sets it apart is its unique flavor derived from a special process called krausening, where finished beer is carbonated using wort instead of sugar. This method enhances its smooth texture and makes it exceptionally drinkable. Over the past 6 decades, Genesee Cream Ale, affectionately known as Jenny Cream or simply Genesee, has developed a devoted following. It has won several awards and maintained its flavorful profile, remaining a favorite among beer enthusiasts. Its rich taste, coupled with its long-standing history and regional appeal, has solidified its status as a beloved classic in the world of American beers. Genesee Cream Ale has sold over 1.5 billion cans and bottles since its introduction in 1960.
Isn't that something? Now Lucky opens without an opener.
Lucky Lager, an American beer with a rich history, emerged during the lively beer scene of the 1930s. It was first introduced in 1934 by San Francisco's General Brewing Company and quickly gained popularity. By the 50s and 60s, it had become a favorite among beer enthusiasts in the western U.S. By 1937, Lucky Lager had risen to become the second best-selling beer in California, with sales figures reaching over 2 million barrels annually. Its success was bolstered by effective marketing campaigns and its superior taste profile. However, after World War II, increased demand posed challenges. To meet this, the Lucky Lager Brewing Company expanded with new breweries in California, Washington, and Utah. Despite its initial success, changing consumer taste and market dynamics eventually led to the discontinuation of Lucky Lager in the mid-20th century. The exact year of discontinuation varied by region, but it ceased production in most areas by the late 70s. As Lucky Lager's popularity waned in the mid-20th century due to changing taste, another iconic American beer, Iron City Beer, faced similar challenges in the modern era. What led to Iron City Beer's discontinuation in 2009? Let's explore its journey.
For their hometown brew. So here's to deep tradition and the deep down satisfying taste of a cold Iron City beer.
Iron City Beer, a classic American lager brewed in the traditional Pittsburgh style, has a rich history dating back to 1861. Originally crafted by the Pittsburgh Brewing Company, it became closely tied to the identity of Pittsburgh itself. This pale yellow lager is known for its hints of sweet corn and smooth, crisp barley malt, which culminate in a dry finish with minimal bitterness. With a moderate 4.7% alcohol by volume and 140 calories per serving, it's favored for its easy drinking profile. Iron City Beer's legacy is marked by resilience and a steadfast commitment to quality, even through challenging times. Despite initial popularity, shifting consumer taste eventually led to its discontinuation. In its prime, Iron City Beer achieved significant sales, reaching over 1 million barrels annually during its peak years in the 70s and 80s. The beer was discontinued in 2009 due to declining sales and competition from other brands that captured the evolving preferences of beer drinkers.